Testing. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2, testing. Test, test, 1, 2.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We're delighted you guys made it. You are the ones that made it in good time and appropriate time. We still have three more classes that we're expecting to see, and so they will arrive when they arrive. And we'll hopefully quietly they'll fill in behind. But I'm so delighted you guys could be here and for all that we've got planned and to see the films and everything else that we've talked about doing. Um, I'd like to begin by introducing the people behind the work, at least a couple of us. I happen to work with Ecologos, which is the people that do the Water Docs Film Festival. Any of you guys get to see anything at the film festival that happened just about a month ago? Ah, too bad. Maybe next year. And one of the programs that we do, besides the film festival, is this that you've been taking part in all year. And so I'm one of the staff members. Also with us this morning is Miriam Gibson, just seated behind you there. Miriam, if you just want to stand and say hi. Miriam is one of the co-founders of Ecologos. She and her husband Stan started this program 18 years ago, I think it was, and have been working on environmental issues ever since. Unfortunately, Stan isn't able to be with us this morning, so Miriam is representing Ecologos for us. And then our partners, as you've seen throughout the time you've been working with the program, we create this program in partnership with Learning for a Sustainable Future. And so I'm going to ask Joanne Hui of LSF to say a couple of words.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Bob. Perfect. So my name is Joanne. I am a project coordinator here at Learning for a Sustainable Future, and we're so excited to have you guys here today. I just wanted to also introduce Pam, who is the president and CEO of our organization as well. Just to give you, thanks. Just to give you a little bit of background about Learning for a Sustainable Future, we are a national charity. We just hit our 25th anniversary, so that's awesome. LSF is just as old as I am, which is great. And basically, we are a national charity that works together to integrate sustainability into the education system through a variety of programs. Through funding, we work with teachers, we also work with students like you, and we also work with government as well in order to integrate sustainability. So without further ado, I think we're pretty much tired with sitting. We're going to start off with a little game just to get you up and pumping. So this game that we're going to start off with today is called Would You Please Stand Up? So let me just give you a couple of instructions on how you can play. It's really, really simple. I'm going to read a couple of statements and just stand up from your seats if it's true for you. Then I'll ask you to sit down. So if you're ready, we'll just get started. So the first statement is to stand up if you know where your water comes from. And I don't mean from the tap. Give a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds. Okay. Okay. So this is a pretty good amount. Perfect. Take a look around and see who else is standing as well. Great. All right, please stay seated. Now, stand up if you know where your water goes when you flush the toilet. I hear people are shouting out answers. Great. Okay, perfect. All right, please sit down. And so let's get to know a little bit about your school. Stand up if you have a lake or a river or a pond near your school. Okay, and some of you have showcased this in some of your films today that we have seen. Okay, please sit down. Now stand up if you can describe what the moon looked like last night. Okay, so we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, kind of 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 8. Perfect. Okay, so not as much as before. So stand up if you can buy bottled water anywhere in your school. Okay. Whoa. Stand up if you like tap water versus bottled water. Okay. Okay. Just a couple more. So stand up if you think water is important to you, to the animals, to humans in the community. All right, almost everyone. Almost. All right. So stand up if you think you used less than 20 liters of water yesterday. Do you know? Okay, we have 2, 3. Okay. So a few more, okay. So did you know that we need 5 liters of water per person to sustain ourselves? And on average, the Canadian use 250 liters of water per day. Well, that's an average. So that's just to um, put that into perspective. So stand up if you believe we need to change the world. Bob's giggling on the side. And stand up or keep standing if you want to be this change. Oh, oh, okay. Perfect. So that's pretty much the game. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it. So as you see your friends and your teachers stand up, did you notice the difference between the number of people standing for each statement? So, for example, not everybody stood up when we talked about how the moon looked last night, but a lot of people stood up when they described that they like tap water versus bottled water, or when they thought that water was important to them. So we noticed that a lot of people in the crowd today stood up when they wanted to be the change, or they believe that there needs to be a change in this world. And that's exactly what today's event is about. Um, it's about learning how the decisions that you make or your peers make have a real impact on you, your community, on the watersheds, and eventually our planet. And today's Recognition Day is about celebrating the positive impacts that you have already created today through your films, through your eco team, through the little everyday activities that you all do. Your contributions have helped to get others informed, and not only that, it helped empower yourselves to stand up for a more just, a more sustainable, and more fair world. And the Water Docs at School program is about taking action now. And that's helping us protect our animals, our watersheds, our land, future generations, and our planet. So that's why, on behalf of Learning for a Sustainable Future and Eco Lagos, we welcome you to the 2017 Water Docs at School Recognition Day. We are so excited to be sharing the highlights from each and every one of your films today, and also announcing the winners as well. Perfect. Thank you.
Don't take mine. She almost took my notes away. So I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what's been going on over the last 9 months outside of your school. I know you guys have been very busy in terms of the lesson plans and the learnings that you did around water. With the great lesson plans that were created for the program by LSF. And I know that you've been very busy on your action project locally, and whatever that was that you decided to do in your own local community. It's always so cool to see what can be done right in our neighborhood, even though we know there are big things happening across the planet that need attention too, but we can act right here. And but you've been working on your own in your school, in your classroom, and may not be aware of what else is going on with the rest of the program. Especially today, we're like I say, we're expecting several more classes here. But even at that, we had initially thought we would have lots and lots more classes here for the day. But it turns out that there's an awful lot happening in a lot of schools at this time of year. So some people have had scheduling problems and et cetera. But this program is much bigger than it might have seemed like initially or until now. As the slide says, that we had a total of 48 classrooms taking part, and actually a number of those classrooms of different projects. They decided to split themselves up into different teams, and so several classes submitted more than one film. It was a total of over 700 students taking part across the province because this is Ontario-based, and so we've had classes from all over the place. And I'll show you that in just a minute. And like I say, altogether we got 51 films and the projects that they represent submitted for the competition that you're about to hear the results of in just a few minutes. And these classes spread all across the GTA, from as far as Whitby in the east to Newmarket in the north, Orangeville in the northwest. We actually initially did have a class in Lions Head up on the Bruce Peninsula, but they had some conflicts early on. We've had a couple of classrooms in London and in Grimsby, wrapped as far east as Grimsby, wrapped around the Niagara Peninsula. So the program has, but as I look at this map, I prepared this map last night and realized that, I mean, this is pretty impressive, seeing all the schools involved across the GTHA. And then something twigged, I was forgetting about something entirely. To get the full picture, you have to look pretty far north. We've had a class taking part in the project this year from Kashechewan, which you may know is a pretty challenged, very remote Aboriginal community up on James Bay. And they were so keen on everything they've been doing, but given life in those communities, Mother Nature intervened, and they've actually had some severe flooding issues recently and had to evacuate the community. So at this point, everybody is out of that community. The teacher was down here in Peterborough for a while, and but I thought that was really cool and fun to be watching this classroom way up north, taking a look at their own local water issues. So the and now I need a way to flag my volunteer out in the lobby. Could we just ask Dave to run in with the spreadsheet? We've been keeping track, of course, as you guys arrive, so we know that you've arrived safely and that everyone is here. And I just needed to get that final tally from him. Where's my walkie-talkie? Here he comes. I guess I wasn't very clear with that. Sorry, Dave, I didn't think of this piece one. You're still waiting for the rest of the classes? Get these on here. So I'm going to mention each of the schools that are here, and Joanne, I'm going to ask the teacher to, one or both teachers, if you've got more than one here, and to come up and accept a little token gift from the program for us. So from R.J. Lang Elementary and Middle School, yay. Sachi is, Ms. Banerjee is here, and I don't know if you brought it here with you or not. Oh yeah, and I hadn't warned him that I was going to call him up, so. So she had to come from the middle of the road. If you want to come on up. Yeah, it's a little skinny stage here. Yeah, let everybody see you here. So come on. So this has been, yay, congratulations. Oh, and we have another bus arriving. Yay, this is good timing. Well, but it's good to see them. Yeah. And This is actually a lot of fun for me because we've been communicating electronically for the entire school year. Never had a chance to meet the teachers I've been talking to. And also with us this morning, we have Ryerson Community School, Ms. Berry. Yeah. Yay, great. Oh, good, good deal. Great, great. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. And this applause can be for the next class that's also arriving. Welcome. I'm glad you made it. I'm sorry. It must have been travel hassles. So which school is it that just arrived, please? Parkview. All right. And and we also have from Spencer Avenue Public Schools, Sandra McLarnon from Orangeville. Yay. So you're welcome. Great, right.
Thank
Get
you.
that on a sheet. So,
Thank you.
Tracy.
yeah. Congratulations to both
Thank
of
you.
Thanks. Okay.
Thanks, Sandra. This is, an example of something that's been happening frequently is a teacher will register, and then it turns out that the science teacher or another teacher in the department actually guides the class through the program. So we get to deal with both. And if I can, was that from Parkview that just arrived? Is that Maggie that was speaking? Maggie, come on up and be introduced, please. And Maggie worked with,
Thank you.
how many different teams did you have in the end?
Oh my gosh, probably about 20.
Wow, wow, wow. Congratulations, yeah. So let me tell you what's in that bag. There are some materials from LSF about a number of their really excellent programs. So I would strongly encourage the teachers to take a look at those and be aware of what's going on and what's available. And so you can take advantage of the professional development and other work that they do. There is also, am I missing something in there? There's a water bottle for the teacher. And we've also included in there a USB key that contains a copy of every one of the films that was submitted by all of the classes, those 51 films, I think it was altogether. So you have a chance to watch those when you get back home. All right. And one of the other LSF resources that's in that bag is is something called Connecting the Dots. So I encourage you to investigate that and use it in your classroom as well. Okay. We're not quite used to doing this on this level of the stage. We're usually up there, and this is skinnier. We don't want to knock each other off off the edge of the stage. Although I'm sure you'd have great fun with that. Oh, and here comes another class. Yay! So we'll just be one shy. So let's give them a second to get in. Oh dear. I hope they're not going to the balcony. Welcome. Good morning. Good to have you with us. Hello? Who is that? Yay. Well, you're just in time. Don't sit down yet. We're going to call you up here. So we, I presume that's Ms. Gulliver that was speaking at me? Yeah. We just finished introducing each of the teachers from each of the schools. So I'm going to ask you to come on up and receive materials and be recognized for the work that your class has been doing this entire year. Um, so these folks have traveled all the way from London, Ontario. So we're so excited that they wanted to be here today, and they've got plans for the rest of the day as well, since they're coming into the to the big smoke, into the big TO. So glad that that you could arrive. I believe we have one more class that may be joining us, but this is the time. Where do we go? Yeah, got the right thing on the screen. This is the time we get to announce who won the prizes. You might have noticed, as you were entering, before we started, there was a sequence of slides that were going on. You might have noticed there was one there thanking the folks at Staples, in particular the University Avenue store in downtown Toronto here, who have very generously donated significantly to the prizes, and those are, we have the same prize for each of two of the classrooms here, which is a Chromebook laptop for use. Yeah, exactly. It's for the classroom. It's not for one of you to take home. We know how technology can be a real challenge in the classroom. And so we're delighted to be able to provide some technology that will help future years classes, hopefully, in this work. And I really should point out that very generously, they included in the donation a 4-year warranty should anything happen to the device. And that's for either repair or replacement. And you can take the device into any Staples store in Canada and they'll help you out with that. So I'd like to ask for a round of applause for Staples for their very generous support. Yeah. So as you'll recall, we provide a prize for what our programming team has judged to be a representative of the best project in all those that were submitted, and we have another prize for the class that submitted the best film in our judgment. So Joanne's going to start us off by presenting the award for the best project.
All right, thank you. Perfect. So I'm going to be reading the criteria that we were looking at in determining the film that won Best Project. So what we identified was whether or not there was community involvement, whether or not the water related issue was local. We looked to see if the project defined a specific goal that generates measurable action. We also looked at meaningful engagement of students throughout the entire process, encompassing the steps that comprise of a complete action project. So that means looking at the visioning section. So choosing an issue that's most important to the group, researching the root causes, the different perspectives that's involved, and the stakeholders that are also involved in the issue as well. We looked at the action portion, so seeing if the students have taken appropriate, thoughtful, and constructive action to address the issues and its causes. We looked at the reflection stage as well, so when you examine the results, whether you understood them, whether you considered alternate perspectives or alternatives for a future action, and also the celebration as well. We also look to see if the project cultivated the skills, the knowledge, and attitudes necessary for active and responsible citizenship, and also the extent and creative use of all types of media to broadcast the message to the community, to garner greater awareness about the issue. So some of this is looking at whether or not you utilize social media, whether or not you use broadcast media, and also print media as well. Okay, so If I could get a drum roll while I announce the best project. Awesome. Okay. Can we do better than that? Come on. Where's the energy, everyone? We're announcing an award. Okay, great. Awesome. So it is our pleasure to announce that Best Project goes to Jack Chambers Public School for Only Rain Down the Drain. So if I could have Miss Gulliver come up, please. Come on up. Okay. Congratulations. You want to hold on to this? Congratulations. Okay, and Bob's gonna come up and read the rubric for best film. So please come on up.
Oh, this is always so much fun. We split it this way because, and this reflects the nature of our partnership with LSF. Water Docs is about storytelling in the form of film. I mean, that's why we exist. That's why we do the film festival. And so, and LSF focuses on the educational side of things, on the actual action projects, because they've got a lot of experience in helping people with those exercises. And so we're delighted to be able to do both of these. So, as Joanne said, what is it we look for? And you can imagine we had 50 plus films to wade through to make a decision about both of these. So what are we looking for just in order to make the judgment? So here are some of the things, here are the things we look for in identifying the best film submitted. That it has an interesting storyline or narrative that flows through in logical beginning, middle, conclusion sequencing. So, did you tell a story? We look for an effective use of visual imagery in telling the story. It's a pretty visual medium, and so we look for creative ways of taking advantage of that. We look for a good use of background music and or other sound effects to support the story. We look for reflections of an understanding and good use of sound techniques, such as quality, volume, the level of the sound, and its clarity. And believe me, we know that one is a challenge. Even professional filmmakers talk about that's something that takes special care, and you guys are mostly, if not entirely, pretty new at filmmaking. So I want to congratulate you on the good work that just about everybody did in that arena. We look for an understanding and good use of visual techniques, including lighting, the camera angle, framing, how you got people in the shot. We look for an understanding of the use of special effects as a storytelling enhancement, rather than in place of good storytelling. So how can you really polish and strengthen the story that you're telling? We look for a good use of narrative or dialogue, including off-camera narrative when using it over visuals that you might be showing during the actual shot that's on the screen at that moment. And we look for a good depiction of the topic, such as interviewing, the skills that you use in interviewing, dramatized scenes, any animation if you chose to use that, etc. So as you can see, it's quite a comprehensive, we hope, comprehensive set of criteria that we use. And so therefore, can I have another a drum roll, please? I'm delighted to announce the classroom that is receiving the prize for Best Film is Spencer Avenue Public School. in Orangeville, Ontario. So we were particularly delighted that both of these far-flung schools were able to be with us this morning. Teachers Ms. McLarnon and Miss Gray. Can have you both come on up, maybe a couple students. And while they're finding their way up here, I really want to highlight too, a really fun side benefit of this project was that it turns out in Orangeville, the Orangeville Sustainability Action Team has an annual contest for people who are doing the best work environmentally in that community. And this team and this project were granted the award for the best in the youth category. So let's give a special congratulations. Great, thanks, Joanne. And I also am delighted to announce that we had a repeat of something that happened last year. We had a couple of films that were so good, even though we didn't select them as the best in their category, we wanted to present them with an honorable mention. And so in the best project category, the honorable mention goes to Brookside Public School in Scarborough. Ms. Hussein's team did Carpoolers for Life. And if you get a chance to watch that, it's quite fun. Yeah, let's give them a recognition. And in the best film category, we actually had to select two different projects for an honorable mention. From Hazel McCallion Senior Public School in Mississauga, Mr. Farnsworth class, one of his team created a project called Microplastics. And again, from Brookside Public School, another teacher, Ms. Budson, her team created a project called Fertilizers, L-I-E, Fertilizers. So let's give a special round of applause to all of those folks. And this is a little bit out of sequence, but it just occurred to me, I need to point this out. Some of the classrooms, as I mentioned, have been way too far to make it into the city for this morning, today's program. And so for the first time ever, this session, what we've been doing so far, is being live cast through YouTube and Facebook. And the recording of that will be available online for other people to watch it after the event. So if you've got classmates that aren't able to see it, watch for the announcement. We'll send it out when it's available. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. I'm going to turn it back over to Joanne.
Okay, so it's going to be here for a very short second, but now at this point, we would love to invite some student speakers to the podium. So if I could get a couple of students from Jack Chambers, come on up. And they're going to be sharing a couple words about their experience throughout their project. Just this one over here, yeah. Just watch the. Do we have a script? Okay, and you can introduce yourselves.
Okay. So, no, I'm too short. Hi, I'm Noah, and this is Tyler and Adam. We are from Jack Chambers Public School in London, Ontario. Our project started back in September when our teacher showed us the Water Docs at School website. She really likes competition, and we were excited, but we didn't really know what we were getting into.
Before we could do our documentary, we had to do a lot of classwork. We started the grade 8 water unit and learned things like water cycle, the chemistry and distribution of water, and water shields. We also studied the Great Lakes and problems they faced. Then we started investigating local issues and learned about our municipal water cycle and water waste treatment.
This gave us the opportunity to invite many guest speakers. We had guests from the City of London who explained about our municipal water system. We had guests from the Ontario Clean Water Agency who taught us about wastewater treatment, and a speaker from CH2M who taught us about wastewater management around the world. We went on a field trip to the local ponds and pollution control plants. We also did activities such as testing the water of the Thames Valley River and local ponds. We also looked at benthic organisms from the river as indicators of health of the ecosystem.
Then the actual project began. We had been filming parts of our documentary since September, and it took us a while to come up with the final direction of our project. We knew we wanted to make a documentary about the pond in the school's backyard, so small groups of students pitched their storylines for the documentary. We picked the best ideas and put it together. We learned about perseverance as well as patience. We enjoyed the fact that it was a year-long project, but we also found filming was weather dependent. We also had to balance regular schoolwork with working on our doc.
We also learned to collaborate as a team and were able to build on individual strengths and skills. Students decided if they wanted to say script, say dialogue, work on art, or create music. We recognized that we could do it ourselves, and we need to call it an expert. Sometimes we need to call in experts. We learned some of the techniques of filming and used to use a green screen in an interview. And we learned some of the procedures of editing video and doing voiceover. We were flexible and worked to improve on our video. We went along and were able to start it by the deadline.
We became citizen scientists and were able to get our whole community involved in our project. Every student in school learned about the importance of stormwater management and what it means to the environment. Every student and staff member decorated a reptile or amphibian, and these are now hanging on our front fences to educate the community. We also stenciled on the street drains and handed out door hangers. We hope the city will put up to the new signs we designed for the stormwater management in the city. Finally, we learned to commit to a project and follow through to the end. We will remember only rain down the drain for a lot longer than anything else we did in grade 8.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler, Noah, and Adam. Perfect. Okay, so we do have another group of student speakers up. Oh, I think my copy went away. Sorry, Bob, if you don't mind. If I could get a couple of students from Spencer Avenue, please. Okay. And we have Dana, Jordan, and Mason coming up to speak. So come on over. You can adjust it like so.
Well, first of all, we want to thank Water Docs, Ecologas, Learning for a Sustainable Future so much for giving us this huge learning opportunity. Throughout the process of this project, we've learned an incredible amount about our environment, about our town Orangeville, and about each other. Our team put forth many hours and a lot of effort into this project. We used our different skills and strengths to come together and accomplish something we are very proud of.
We are so grateful to have been given this opportunity.
We met a lot of new people while doing this action project. We'd like to thank all of our teachers and people who volunteered their time, Miss Gray, Miss McLarnon, Jim Baxter, Josh Ince,
My uncle,
and many more. They made this possible for us and took the time to teach us about salt in our water and how to work as a team. We could not have done it without them.
While doing this project, we discovered a lot about each other too.
And not just who can type the fastest.
Jordan.
We've learned more about teamwork, collaboration, and working hard to get things done.
We definitely worked hard on this.
I think that was my part.
No, it's my part. I wrote the script.
Dana, we both wrote it.
I wrote it better.
Guys, they can hear us.
Hey guys.
We did a reflection in class after we finished the project. We would like to share some of the comments and thoughts from our class.
One student said,
I learned that I like to use gathered information, put it together, and edit it to make a documentary. I like to work like this instead of a normal class lesson.
Another student said,
I liked how when we did this video, we had so many people working on different things to create one big project. I also liked how we didn't do any tests or quizzes, we just did one big thing.
and another student added,
I learned that I am very hands-on. I understand the most when I try it out.
our Water Dock Action Project is more challenging than we thought it would be. A 4-minute documentary doesn't seem that long, but wow, it is.
we started this project in mid-September. We didn't know what we wanted to do our documentary about, so we had guests come in to talk about it.
Once we discovered that we have a serious local water issue, we decided what to focus on.
Road salt,
We worked hard for the next few months,
Researching
planning,
discovering.
processing.
and inquiring.
This past April, we finally finished our 4-minute video.
Well, Dana, 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
Same thing.
Once we were finished, we were very proud of what we accomplished together.
We're so happy to be able to share a part of it with you today.
So thank you so much again for giving us this amazing opportunity to work as a team.
We think we made a real change in our community.
The Water Dock project made us think about issues in our environment that needed to be explored. Some information that we will keep with us for many years to come is that salt in our water will be something that we need to keep an eye on as a community.
This is something we will remember, and we intend to continue to be involved in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, before you leave, we have a couple gifts for the student speakers. I forgot to give to the first group, so I'll come over in a bit. So at this point, I'd like to invite Pam to come up to say a couple of words on behalf of LSF. So please join us. And I'll just grab.
Hi, everyone. I have to let you know that the 2 schools that won did not know they were going to be winning. So I think it's really quite incredible that they offered to do student presentations, and they were here today. So that was just by coincidence. I think that's important to know. So I'd like to congratulate all of the schools. We know how much work this is. Excuse me. The commitment on the part of the teachers and the students. It's a long haul, it's a lot of work, it's a wonderful experience, and I think we heard that from the students today. We do have an exciting opportunity for the teachers coming up. Bob mentioned that Learning for a Sustainable Future is really focused on policy, on professional development and support for teachers, and of course, engaging students. So this summer, we have an opportunity through the Ontario Teachers Federation to provide a 3-day professional development workshop on using filmmaking to enhance authentic inquiry and project-based learning, using Water Docs as an example. One of the teachers who's now delivered Water Docs for 3 years in a row and was one of our runners-up will be one of the teachers facilitating the workshop. And I encourage you to watch her film. And which one was Nazim's? Do you recall? Carpoolers for Life. And you'll get to see some of the experience that she's put into the project over 3 years. So I think it's a great opportunity. July 31st, August 1st, 2nd. You have to be an OTF member. It's $50 for the 3 days, which you get back at the end if you complete. Accommodation is available, breakfast, lunch, refreshments, and a series of documents. The Connecting the Dots document that the teachers have in your bags, that's the basis of the workshop. Connects to curriculum, to inquiry. Nazim attended the workshop a couple of years ago, and she said it really changed her life and changed her teaching. So I do encourage you all to come. You'll be getting a flyer. We're just waiting for some details from OTF with the information to register. So again, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing the teachers at the workshop.
Okay, we're ready to switch to your presentation. Do I have to close this one down? So Lucy, if we can just blacken the screen for a second. Okay, I think we're ready. Thank you. So it is now, this sounds so formal, doesn't it? I'm delighted to introduce to you a young woman whose name is Robin Hamlin. You might have run across her name because she is referred to as a water warrior who got activated about the issue of water at the ripe old age of 12. And I'll let her tell you the details of her story, but it's really captivated us at Ecologos and LSF to see how she has become so engaged and so passionate about this work that she has talked to people all across the province, has made an impact in various communities around the province, and shows what one individual can do. So she has spoken here at this event for us for, I think this is the 4th year. It's the 4th year we've been doing the program. So she keeps coming back. She lives in Kingston, and we are delighted to welcome her back once again. Please join me in welcoming Robin.
Hi there, guys. How's it going? Okay, I think that was 5 people. How's it going today? Guys are okay. All right. I mean, it was okay. Can we try one more time? Because Kingston was way better. All right. How are you doing today? There you go. I haven't heard Bob. Perfect. Awesome. Now, before I start, I know we've been sitting for a little bit while. We already did the game, but I want everyone to stand up and just stretch. Just hands up. Come on. Everyone stretch. Try not to hit anybody. Move around a bit. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Perfect. And now for the next 4 hours, I will be telling you my story. No, don't worry, it's not that long. My name is Robin Hamlin, just like Bob had mentioned. I'm 18 years old, and I'm from Kingston, Ontario, which is about 3 hours from here. Like Bob said, I've been here plenty of times. I've been honored to come here year after year to present to students, teachers, and members of the Ecologos team. And this year is special and a little sad because I'm actually heading off to university in the fall. So this will probably be one of my last presentations for a while. However, my passion for saving our fresh water hasn't and will not change. And I'm hoping that after today, I will have inspired you, or at least showed you what's happening around the world and what we can do about it. Now, I know some of you probably don't want to be here, probably would rather be watching Netflix, or just happy to be out of class. I know at least I was when I was doing presentations, or when I was in class and we went to presentations. But I'm just going to ask you to try and really pay attention just for the next 20 minutes. Because, like I said, this is my last presentation. And the story that I'm about to tell you is about something that's very important. It's about something that affects each and every one of us and will affect us if we don't do something about it. Because I'm here to talk to you about today that the world is running out of water. I was hoping for gasps, but that's okay. But this, there we go, yeah, awesome, perfect. But this wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, the idea of running out of water almost seems impossible, but it's actually already happening. I mean, who remembers the water cycle? This hands, anybody? Okay, teachers, I think you're gonna have to step up your game a little. I think I counted about 10 hands, but that's okay. It's pretty simple. I'll give you an idea of what it is. When it rains, the water soaks into the ground and runs off in rivers, lakes, and oceans. The water then evaporates, rising to form clouds, and then it rains again. This cycle goes on and on, forever and ever. So running out of water is impossible, right? Wrong. There is a cycle, but there's only a certain amount of water in that cycle. The water that runs through it is slowly becoming polluted and overpumped. And slowly but surely, we are taking away more and more water that we can use. Our Earth is called the blue planet. When you see it from space, you see water. The funny thing is that 97% of that water that you see there is actually salt water. The remaining 3% is fresh water. What's amazing and scary at the same time is that almost all of that 3% is already polluted and therefore useless to humans. You may not see it, you may not hear about it, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. Nearly 1.6 billion people live in severe conditions where water is either so scarce or so polluted, or there's barely any water at all. Sometimes it's both. Because we live in a water-rich country here in Canada, we tend to take our water for granted. And honestly, we almost don't even realize that there's a water crisis. Just around our Great Lakes, though, we pump almost 3.2 trillion liters of water a day to provide for our needs. 7.6 billion liters do not get returned. Now, I'd like to tell you guys a story about the Aral Sea. Has anybody ever heard of the Aral Sea before? Well, I'm not surprised, because right now there's no longer an Aral Sea. A couple years ago, there's this great big lake. In fact, it was so huge that it was called a sea, the Aral Sea. However, in the 1960s, the rivers that led into this vast lake started to get diverted for farming and irrigation projects. And slowly but surely, the Aral Sea began to shrink and shrink and shrink until you see what it is today. On the left, that was the Aral Sea in the 1930s. In 2007, that's what it is now. And it's even smaller. I couldn't find a picture with the other one because it didn't have the comparison. So just imagine that smaller. Now, this is what can happen when we pump and overuse our water. And if we don't do something about it, this is what could happen to our Great Lakes. Because once you drain a lake, that's it. It's gone. Requires 32 liters of water. And 1 liter of bottled water requires 3 to 5 liters of water. Unfortunately, we do not know how much groundwater we're actually sitting on. But we do know that we are pumping up to 15 times more water from the ground than what's being put back into it. It's only a matter of time before we run out. Now, it's all very upsetting, and you'd hope that we'd be doing something about it, right? But unfortunately, the powerful people of the world look at this water shortage and see a profit. In 1992, at a UN conference in Dublin, Ireland, we actually saw for the first time that water was spoken of as an economic good, not a human right. People look at our water crisis, and instead of trying to fix it, they try and make money out of it. But that doesn't mean that we cannot fix it. If you listen to how people achieve their dreams, it usually started out with a form of inspiration. My inspiration was in grade 7 when I saw the movie Blue Gold World Water Wars. Now, this was a very intense documentary. It showed me how billions of people across the world are dying because they don't have access to clean, fresh water. It showed me how people are pumping and using and polluting our water, and how people are actually having to fight the government in order to have access to water. It was really intense. Now, in this time, I was in grade 7, so I was about 12 years old, okay? And I was also a very easily scared kid. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Jaws before, but I never went into the ocean after that, ever. It completely scared me. In fact, I was scared of Scooby-Doo for the longest time. I'm not good when it comes to this stuff. So you can imagine how I was after I saw this movie when people were dying on the streets and there was blood and, well, yeah, it wasn't a pretty face. So I got really scared, basically. I was scared because in this movie, I found out that Canada is one of the 3 water-rich countries in the world, which basically means when other countries start to run out of water, they're going to look to us for a source of water. And then we could be in the middle of a world water war. Now, what the scary thing was, is that they were saying that this could happen within 10 to 20 years from now. I couldn't believe it. But you know what? It was that fear that made me want to do something. I realized that I couldn't just sit here and cry. This wasn't Scooby-Doo, okay? I mean, Scooby wasn't gonna go and come and save the day. I had to do something about it. I had to be Scooby. So what I did is I ran home and told my mom I had to do something. She told me if I wanted to, I could write the mayor a letter telling him my concerns. And so I did. And you know what? The mayor invited me to meet with him. Now, I completely freaked out, but I was also really excited, but I wanted to be prepared. So I emailed the director of the movie, Sam Botso, who connected me with Maud Barlow. Has anybody ever heard of Maud Barlow? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys are like my favorite people right now. Good for you. I think most of them were teachers, but that's still pretty good. So he connected me with Maud because I wanted to ask something of my mayor. I wanted to do something. And she told me if I really wanted to do something, this is actually her right here, I could ask my mayor to make Kingston a blue community. Now, a blue community is a small solution to our water crisis. It works to protect and preserve our fresh water for future generations like you and me. It won't fix everything, but it's one small step to cleaning up the mess we have made. Now, in order for a community to become blue, 3 resolutions or laws must be passed. The first one is banning the sale of bottled water. Now, who here has drank bottled water before? Okay, there's a door right there. You can all leave. No, that's okay. Honestly, I used to drink bottled water all the time. I had no problem going over to the corner store and buying a bottle of water. But that was before I learned about all of the facts about plastic water bottles. That was before I learned that it takes 3 to 5 liters of water to make 1 liter of bottled water. That was before I knew that bottled water companies require massive amounts of fossil fuels to manufacture and to transport their bottled water, which contributes to our climate change. That was before I read that the production of water bottles alone uses 17 million barrels of oil a year. In fact, when bottled water was first introduced, people laughed at it. I mean, water is free, people said back then. What are they going to sell us next? Air? So how did they get people so hooked onto buying bottled water? Well, the first step they took was scaring us. They said that bottled water was safer, but this isn't true because bottled water is actually regulated as a food product under the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Now, this means the bottled water plants are inspected on average only once every 3 years, while municipal tap water is tested continuously. In fact, here in Toronto, you guys test your water every 4 to 6 hours. And in the community of Barrie, the mayor actually told me that his water is tested every 2 to 3 seconds. So if you're starting to think that bottled water is safer, it's completely false. For bottled water companies, their biggest enemy is tap water. And they're constantly trying to get rid of this competition. Now, the second step they took was misleading us. Bottled water companies are always bragging about how environmentally friendly they are, when actually they're wasting huge amounts of water to produce the product, even more to transport it across the planet, and then we drink it in less than 5 minutes. You see, bottled water is a convenience, but unfortunately, we are at that point where our earth can no longer support convenience. We were all fine before bottled water came to be, and we will all be fine without it. Now, the second resolution or law to becoming a blue community is recognizing water as a human right. Now, this is a simple one. It basically means that everyone in the community should have access to clean, fresh water. Something that you think would already be a law, but in many communities it isn't. The third and last resolution or law to becoming a blue community is promoting publicly owned and operated water and wastewater services, which basically means that the people that pump our water for our tap should be publicly owned, not owned by a big company, because the companies only care about profit. Usually when it's privately owned, they cut the workforce, they charge the customer more, that's you and me, and then they cut corners in keeping our environment safe and clean. Now, after bringing all of this up to my mayor, first of all, he was really impressed. Because I mean, I was 12 years old and I'm pretty sure he was just expecting me to ask what was happening with our water. And so I asked him if he could try and make Kingston a blue community. And he looked at me, he had his glasses on, he was sitting in the chair, he was kind of intimidating. And he was like, why don't you make Kingston a blue community? Now, at first I thought that was a threat, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you angry. And he was like, no, come to council and present. And so I did. I was 12 years old, I went to council on September 11th, and Kingston declared themselves a blue community. Oh, thank you. But I wasn't done. I mean, I was obviously extremely happy. But making one community blue wasn't going to make the difference that I wanted to make. It wasn't going to change the fact that people all across the world are running out of water, or the fact that we are actually having to buy water in the form of plastic water bottles, or the fact that we're pumping way too much so that in the future we're not going to have any left. So what I did is I went home and I wrote letters to 50 mayors across Ontario, asking if I could come and try to make their community blue. And the response I got was mind-blowing. I found out quickly that mayors wanted to meet with me. They wanted to hear what I had to say. In fact, the mayor of Ajax called me on a Saturday morning when I was in my Hello Kitty pajamas, which, by the way, are the comfiest things you will ever wear. Don't laugh. I still have them, okay? So he called me up and he called me to tell me that he'd actually taken my letter, brought it to council, and made Kingston a blue community. And I didn't even have to present. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. The government does want to hear from you. They do care what they want, what you have to say. It doesn't matter what your age is. Now, so far, I've met with 19 mayors and councils. I've presented to 23 council meetings. Oh, I missed that slide, but that's about fresh water. And I like that picture because he just looked really happy. So I've presented to 23 different councils. 5 committee meetings, and I've had 33 speaking engagements like this to help spread the word. This will be my 34th. I've also made 7 communities blue communities, and several others that have passed 1 to 2 of the 3 resolutions. And this is what one teenager can do. Can you imagine if everyone here stood up and did something as well? Now, I didn't come here today so you guys could feel at ease knowing that, I'm off the earth saving the world, because I'm not. I'm making a small difference. But if we're really going to save our fresh water, everyone has to stand up and make a difference. Now, I'm not asking you to go across Canada speaking to councils. What I am asking you is to realize that there is a problem and that you can do something about it. Something simple, like taking showers versus baths. Showers actually use 1/3 of the water taking a bath requires. If you conserve water by taking shorter showers and reduce your shower time to 4 minutes, you can save 13,800 liters of water a year. Now, what about low-flow shower heads and toilets? These limit the amount of water being used in your house or apartment every day. The average person in most African countries has access to less than 5 liters of water a day. Your toilet uses an average of 8 liters of water today. Realistically, every time you flush the toilet, you have more water than someone in Africa does for the entire day. Now, have any of you ever heard of a rain barrel? Okay, that's pretty impressive. Who can tell me what a rain barrel is? You guys are like, you're so quiet. You're whispering. Shout out, what's a rain barrel? It catches rain. There you go. Awesome. It's true, it catches rain. It collects rainwater and it stores it for later use. So instead of using your municipal water at cost, you just hook it up and use the rain barrel. Now this tip will probably be the first one and the easiest one. Making a personal commitment to not drinking bottled water. Just use an own refillable water bottle. Think about it. Bottled water on average costs 200 to 3,000 times more than tap water. That'd be like paying $10,000 for a sandwich. Now, I know these things are stuff that people think are so small that it doesn't even matter. But if everyone contributes their single drop in the bucket, eventually the bucket will be overflowing. There are already so many kids across the world that are actually going and doing out something, fighting for a cause that they believe in. Just for example, this is Abby Goldberg, a 13-year-old activist that's fighting to get plastic bags banned. Adeline Tiffany Swana, at 15 years old, she led the formation of a community group called Friends of Nature, which plants coral reefs, helps with reforestation, cleaning marine debris from beaches, energy development, and sustainability. Daniel Bissonnette, a 9-year-old activist helping to bring attention to GMO foods. Xander Rhodes, at age 11, created an interactive sea turtle seminar for children. And Olivia Buhler, at age 11, raised $200,000 to help save wildlife affected by the Gulf Coast oil spill. And there's so much more. Wyatt Workman, a 10-year-old activist, using his creativity to make movies, books, and art that he then sells to raise money for Oceana. And the list goes on and on. Cassandra Lynn, Kelsey Giuliani, Nellie Shute, Christina Segris, and Lucy Shine. Mr. Martinez, and Severn Suzuki. These are all kids that saw something was wrong, saw a cause that they thought needed to be changed, and decided to do something about it. So while most of you will probably walk out of here today, and by the time you get on the bus, completely forget everything I just told you, I'm hoping that at least one of you, or maybe 2, or maybe 3, walks out of here today and realizes that, hey, we're running out of water. We could be in the middle of a world water war in 10 years. I want to change that. So my question is to you, can I add your name and face to the list of people wanting to make a change. Because if there's one thing that I've learned through the past 5 years of doing this, is that everyone can make a difference. No matter what age, no matter what gender, you can all make a change to help save our fresh water. Thank you. Do you want to black out the screen, or do you need your
No, it's fine for now. Don't go away, right? Thank you so much, Robin. It's always inspiring. It's always a fresh story. And I just love the energy that she brings to this work. And I hope it kind of registers with some of you. So we have a couple of minutes to give you an opportunity to ask questions of Robin, whether that's something about her own work, if you want a bit more detail about how she did things, or some of what she's learned about water that didn't fit into the talk. We've got somebody on each side of the auditorium with a microphone. If you've got a question, just raise your hand and one of them will find you, and so we can all hear your question. Who's got a question for us? Oop, where am I not seeing it? There we go, one over there to start. Thanks.
Wouldn't a war over water just pollute the water more?
A war over water? Yeah. In fact, it'll probably do more damage than good. But unfortunately, the United States, who's currently in a water crisis right now, has actually already mapped out places of potential conflict. In fact, as horrible as it may sound, soldiers right now are actually in training in case there's any threat to the water supply. So it is happening, and as horrible an idea of it is, when a country runs out of water, they have no choice but to look for something else or somewhere else. Another question?
I see one back here.
Oh, run over here.
So if Kingston's a blue community, do they not sell bottled water in the stores?
They don't sell it in municipal buildings or public facilities. So obviously independent vendors can sell it, or stores can sell it. But if you go to the arena or the public library, it's no longer in their vending machines. Any other questions? We have one over here.
If all the people, or all the government is trying to make money off of this, and we run out of water, we only have salt water left.
Yeah.
That's going to cost way more. So I'm really confused in how that's going to work out for them making money.
Well, what they're planning to do is, that's what actually you're talking about, is something called desalinization, which is the process of converting salt water into fresh water. So a bunch of government and big companies right now are looking to build these plants in order to have water in the future. So when other people run out, we'll have no, we'll have no choice but to go and buy water from these facilities that are converting it, which is how they make profit. The only problem with this, though, is that these buildings, desalinization plants, cost billions and billions of dollars to make. They barely produce any water out of all of it. And it also requires nuclear energy and a bunch of other pollutants that we still have no idea how to deal with. So in fact, when we're trying to fix one problem, we end up creating another. So that's their plan on how to go and, sell water and make a profit out of it. And that's why it's so important that we have to preserve the amount of fresh water that we have, so that we don't run out and we don't have to look to that option as desalinization.
Just one additional thought on that. One factor that doesn't always get talked about is that if you're desalinating water, you're doing that somewhere near a coast. And we're pretty far from a coast. So how do we get that water?
Yeah.
And have you ever noticed water is heavy? It costs a lot, takes a lot of work to ship it. So there's a whole ton of reasons why it's not a preferred option.
Any other questions that we have? Anything? I am an open book, guys. What about here? We've got one.
I see a hand.
Oh, we got one right here. And then I've actually been accepted to Waterloo for environmental resource studies. So I'm hoping to pursue that. And if not, go to Guelph and work with animals and sustainability. So that's what I'm hoping on doing. And then doing this, of course, on the side, because I definitely want to continue this. I think we had another question over here. Or maybe not? No? Oh, it's the same question. Okay. Any other questions about what you can do, about my work, about bottled water, or if you completely fell asleep, what was my speech about? One back here.
How much water does a paper bag do? Not a paper bag, a plastic bag.
A plastic bag?
Yes.
That one I'm actually not sure of. But if we think about it, a plastic water bottle, like a small plastic one, uses 3 to 5 liters. So probably around that amount to make the plastic bag. And if you also think about it, that's just to manufacture it. So you also have to ship those plastic bags to and from and across the world, which requires energy, pollutants, water, which is a huge problem right now. Any other questions that we have?
One more. I see another hand down here.
Perfect. All right, no pressure. You're the last one. It's got to be good.
I have a question that why don't we convert salt water to fresh water?
Why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so the problem with that is converting salt water to fresh water. It requires a huge amount of energy and a huge amount of pollutants, one of that being nuclear energy. And I don't know if you guys have studied that yet, but the problem with nuclear energy is when we use it, there's nuclear waste, which we still don't know how to get rid of and dispose of. Right now, we're currently burying it, and people are starting to, have ideas to ship it off to space. But it's this huge pollutant, toxic waste that we have no idea how to deal with. The other problem with converting salt water to fresh water is that it costs billions of dollars. And I know actually in LA, they have built the first desalinization plant in the United States. And it's only like as soon as it finishes, it's only going to help support 1/8 of the population. So if you think about it, it takes all of this energy, all of these pollutants, and it barely makes enough just to sustain a country or a city. Well, I think that was the last one. And it was pretty good questions. That's good.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Don't go away yet. I just need to. So, as I say, this is the fourth time that Robin has been with us, has gifted us with her experience and her wisdom and her insights, and we are so appreciative, especially because I think you had to take a day off work to do this today. In the past, she's been in school and was able to be a bit more flexible. But we do have a couple of tokens of our appreciation, one of which is a book called The Global Chorus, 365 Voices on the Future of the Planet. So there's tons of insights and wisdom and things in there that I'm sure Robin will be able to utilize as she continues her work and her studies. And on a more personal level, a pair of earrings from Peru that are a waterfall surprise. So a little dangly waterfall. Thank you. Yeah, go.
Also, I just wanted to say before I get off the stage, right here on the big screen, that's my website that I've created. So if any of you teachers, students want to take a look at it, it talks about my story, our water crisis, what you can do about it, blue communities, all of the communities that are blue. And in fact, how can you make your community blue? Because Toronto actually is not a blue community yet. They have denied wanting to become one. So if you are interested in even going and speaking to council, getting your class, making a petition, it's happened before. The city of Aurelia did it. You can look on my website for help and information about that. And there's also a contact form. So if you have any questions, you can contact me or get in touch if you want to talk more. And for the kids, if you want to take a picture of it right now and look at it later, or, just visit the website at school. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks. All right. So this is a little bit unexpected moment, but we discovered recently that we had an opportunity to have some very special surprise guests that we hadn't told you about before. You remember last fall when we started the project and looked at a film called Carpageddon and had an opportunity to talk to the Water Brothers. Well, they wanted to stop by and say hello and congratulate you. So Alex and Tyler Mifflin, please come down and say hi. I'm behind.
Do we have an extra mic we can grab? Or we can just shout at each
Yeah,
other, that's
Lucy,
fine.
can we get one of those mics for a second, please?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Nice to see you. Happy Thursday. I'm Tyler. This is my brother, Alex. And for those of you guys that maybe don't know who we are the Water Brothers. We have a TV show that looks at some of the biggest water-related environmental issues happening on the globe today, and really trying to show people, how we're connected to these issues, environmental issues, all are really water issues if you boil it down. So what we try to do is help you guys, everyone around the world, better understand how they're connected to environmental issues through the lens of water. Because water is really what connects every living thing on the planet. Everything needs water to survive, and everything we eat, we buy, we wear, we consume requires a significant amount of water to be made. And so this is really how you're connected to environmental issues and challenges that are happening across the globe that you maybe not think or realize. So by looking at these stories through the lens of water, we're trying to help educate people about environmental issues and really focus on what we can do to solve these problems, because that's really what it's all about. We all know there's so much challenges we face, but I think what's really important, especially for your guys' generation, is learning about these challenges, but more importantly, figuring out how we can overcome these problems, because this is going to be sort of the challenges that define your generation and our generation, because we really need to solve these problems if we want to continue living on a planet that's, that's got clean air, that's got clean water, and supports biodiversity, and has all the beautiful ecosystems that we need and that we depend on to thrive and survive.
And like Tyler was saying, these are issues that are really going to be there all throughout your lives. They're only going to continue to get worse, at least in the short term, whether we're talking about climate change, the loss of biodiversity. There's 50% less wildlife on this planet than there was just 50 years ago. So, a lot of you have already been born into a world where there's not even as much wildlife, there's not even as many species, because the extinction rate right now is 1,000 times higher than the background rate. So what that means is that species go extinct naturally for many reasons. I mean, that's why we don't have dinosaurs walking around. We don't have many things from the Ice Age walking around. But now we're causing species to go extinct 1,000 times faster than the natural rate. And some of the highest rates of extinction are happening, actually the highest rates of extinction are happening in freshwater ecosystems. And a lot of that has to do with pollution, with over-extraction of surface water from rivers and lakes. It could be climate change, it could be access to clean water and sanitation. I mean, if we want to solve an issue like global poverty or global hunger, I mean, it really does always come back to water. And that's what we have to remember is that it's water. If it's fixing water problems, they're going to solve a lot of other problems that we face in the world today, whether that's access to education, health, employment, and just the economy in general. So, looking at issues through the lens of water really helps us understand, what the problem really is and how we can solve it. And that's a big part of our journey that we're trying to share. But another message we want to share with people is that if you want to make a difference, you don't have to be a documentary filmmaker. You can do it in whatever career path you follow. You can make a huge difference in this world. Whether you go up and be a school teacher like your teachers in this audience today, anything you do, any profession,
A doctor, a lawyer,
even if you
dentist.
just open up a store, and the products you sell, even if it's just like, it could just be a little grocery store. That would be a huge difference, because you could make a huge difference just by running a grocery store, because some of the biggest ways that we are connected to big environmental problems is through our diet. And that's a big message that we always like to share, is that, we can install, or take a shorter shower, or which makes a big difference. Or you could, turn off the tap when you brush your teeth. That's good. But if you really want to cut down on water, it's through your diet. So if you just ate, say, 10 less hamburgers a year, that would be the equivalent amount of water as all your showers for the entire year, because each hamburger requires about 2,400 liters of water to produce. You have, it seems like a lot, 2,400 liters for a hamburger, but that's because cows need a lot of water. They eat a lot of food, and that food that they eat, that grain requires, or corn or whatever it may be, even grass, it requires a lot of water to make. So it's actually your diet that you can really change to make a big difference. And the same goes for seafood as well. We talk a lot about ocean issues in our show, and changing how you think about seafood, the seafood you eat, asking questions where it comes from, how it was caught. That makes a big difference. If you look at deforestation, issues like palm oil production, again, it's connected to our diet. So if you really want to make a big difference, I'd say one of the best things to do on a daily basis is to think differently about your food choices. And what's really good about that is that, when you your diet, a lot of the things that you can change to say that are good for the environment are also actually really good for your own personal health as well.
Absolutely. And so, what as Al was sort of saying is that we can all make a difference. You don't have to be a documentary filmmaker. And I think having gone through the experience, you've learned the challenges, you've learned how to be creative problem solving. These are all important skills that you can, apply to other aspects of your careers or your educational career to really help you thrive and become better stewards. But really, that we face so many challenges, and we all have to become part of the solution. And there's so many ways we can get involved. I know some of you guys have seen some of our episodes. You can check out, we have about 26 different documentaries on a wide range of environmental issues. You can check out on our website, thewaterbrothers.ca. We have educational guides for all the episodes for the teachers out there, so you can incorporate it into the classroom. We also have these really cool interactive stories called Dive Deeper that are sort of 5-minute interactive learning experiences, cool animations, extra video content. So we highly recommend you check out our website. There's so much stuff to learn about there, and really focus in on the solutions to solve these problems. Because I think right now we all understand that there's challenges. No one's arguing that climate change isn't real. We all know. But it's really, we got to move past the argumenting of what the problem is. We got to get to solving these problems, and it's going to take everyone. And so you guys today, you guys have a really important role and responsibility to become educators to your friends, to your families, to your other students in your classrooms. You guys are going to be the agents of change that are going to help spread this knowledge out there. Because as we've said multiple times, we all have to become part of these solutions, because these are global problems, and just one country can't solve it on our own. One community can't solve it on our own. Yes, we can all make differences, but it's going to be creating that sort of level of awareness where we all just sort of expect that we change our behaviors, and that we're starting to do things where we're not drinking as much bottled water. We're not, the plastic pollution problem is huge. Alex and I have sailed across the Pacific Ocean, seen how much plastic is in the ocean. But what's even scarier is that we actually have our own little plastic garbage patch in the Great Lakes. We're connected. There is no away anymore. All of our actions have consequences, and we have to learn how to harmonize our actions with the natural environment, because that is what supports life on this planet. That's what, we want to live in beautiful places with clean air, clean water, and we can't do that unless we have healthy ecosystems and biodiversity. And it's going to take a lot of work to make sure that we can have these systems that we really depend on for future generations. So you guys have a lot of work ahead of you today and for the rest of your careers and lives, but we can solve these problems because we really don't have any other option. So I want to say congratulations to all you guys today on all the hard work you've done on making your projects and the films. And this is just the beginning, but there's a lot of successes to celebrate today. So congratulations, everyone. Thanks. And I don't know if we have time. We can do a little Q&A if we have some time, or.
Yeah, if any of you have any questions about any of the work we've done, the episodes, or anything about water or the ocean, we've talked about a lot of issues in our show. So we're usually happy to answer anything to do with water or the ocean. So. I can hand back this mic if you need it too.
Don't be shy.
If all the governments of the world decide to work together and try to fix these problems, how long would it take?
That's a really good question. I don't think there's a clear number I could give you. I mean, we are starting to see that governments are working together. You know, we had the COP 21 in Paris, where countries all signed on to this sort of commitment to reduce our global emissions. And so that's just a start. There's still, it's non-binding. There's a lot more work to be done. But I think if governments really got serious and we realized that we have to work together and create a global framework to overcome issues like climate change, water scarcity, pollution, I think you'd be surprised how quickly things will turn around. One things I like to be honest with you guys is that these are really big problems, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Things are going to get worse. We are going to see more pollution. We're going to see more loss of biodiversity, more water scarcity, more extreme weather events. I mean, you just look at what happened last week. What's happening in Quebec, all the flooding. We're going to see more floods. We're going to see more droughts. It's more extreme weather events. This is going to become the new norm. So there's a lot of work to be done. But I think if we actually, all the governments and particularly, it's not just governments, it's industry as well, and everyday people. So we sort of need people from all different levels, from top down to bottom up solutions. I think it's hard to say, but I think if everyone actually really got their act together and really committed to it, I'd say within 20 to 30 years we could start turning this around. Which is maybe it's a long time frame, but we got to think the Earth is billions of years old, so we got to think a bit long term. And I think that's what one of the big problems that we've gotten to is that so many of these solutions, and particularly politicians, they think short term. They're thinking 4-year election cycles. What am I going to do? And some of the solutions are going to require long-term commitments that might cause some short-term pain. That's going to, maybe some economic challenges. But in the long run, I think that the benefits way outweigh the negatives. So we got to start thinking long-term.
What's the progression of the Asian carp?
Right now, there's still no evidence that they're reproducing in the Great Lakes, and that's the really big thing. Is they found some individual specimens of different Asian carp species, but none have been found to be reproducing yet, which is a really good sign. Unfortunately, the new administration in the U.S., the Trump administration, just cut 97% of all funding for Great Lakes restoration efforts, including the entire program, federal program for the control of Asian carp and the spread of Asian carp into the Great Lakes. So that was a really big setback, but it's really hard to tell. I mean, a lot of the people that we worked with even back then, a couple of years ago for Carpageddon, they seem to not be a lot of them seem to think that it was sort of a matter of when, not if, they would start to reproduce, which is why that they're already doing studies of trying to figure out which rivers in the whole Great Lakes basin would be the best breeding grounds, because they need rivers to lay their eggs and for the babies to grow up. So yeah, it's not really a good news scenario, and it's something that will probably happen in the future. But there are ways that we can stop it if we have the willpower. But again, it comes back to political will, and that's something that currently is not there, at least south of the border. So we'll just have to wait and see. And unfortunately, that's the case.
What would you say the least talked about issue is, but it's one of the most important ones?
There's so many issues that I don't think are getting the attention they deserve. I think one of the really scary ones, and I think Al would agree, it would probably have to be ocean acidification, which is sort of referred to as the other CO2 problem. So about 25 to 30% of all the carbon dioxide that we emit into the atmosphere doesn't actually stay in the atmosphere. It gets absorbed into the oceans. And what happens when CO2 gets absorbed into the ocean is it starts changing the chemistry of seawater, and it's becoming slightly more acidic. So I don't know if you know the sort of basic and acidic sort of scale, the pH scale, but what happens when you start changing it, and it's even minute differences can have huge impacts. And we did an episode about this called Acid Ocean, which you can check out. It's really, really interesting, but it's probably one of the biggest issues that people are not really aware of, and that it's having huge implications, negative implications on marine life, particular things that build shells. So, clams, mussels, oysters, shellfish. But scientists are just starting to realize the other impacts this can have on things like fish or, seagrasses and different sort of coral reef habitats. So it's really what's happening. And if we continue emitting carbon emissions as we are, is we're going to see a mass die-off starting in our oceans, particularly with coral reefs are probably some of the most affected organisms. And as you may know, coral reefs sort of are the growth area for about 25% of all the life in the ocean start in coral reefs. They spend some time of their life in coral reefs. So this is like the nursery ground. And if we lose coral reefs, we're going to see a rapid decline in the biodiversity in our oceans. And without healthy oceans, there's not going to be life on the planet. You know, the oceans are responsible for 50% of the oxygen we breathe.
Yeah, and another really important thing to keep in mind is that some of the poorest people on Earth depend on the ocean for their primary source of protein. So when you do anything to mess, like whether it's overfishing or the loss of coral reefs, the people that you're actually hurting, and this same thing goes for climate change, the most vulnerable people are the ones that are least able to adapt. They don't have any other choices. You know, a lot of the people that depend on coral reef fish, they depend on it for their livelihood and also for their nutrition. It's the base of their nutrition. So we're going to see a lot of rise in global hunger, a lot of rise in you know, environmental refugees, even related just to an issue like ocean acidification. And I think so for the ocean acidification is the one that's not being talked about enough. And I think for freshwater, it would be the depletion of groundwater all around the world. So aquifers that are being pumped dry, essentially, because we don't really know how much is in a lot of aquifers around the world, but we depend on them hugely, especially in places like India and China, which groundwater is sort of the basis of their entire agricultural industry, feeding, you know, in both cases, you know, this is billions of people. This is, you know, pretty much a quarter of all the people on Earth, you know, depend on, just in those two countries, are depending on groundwater mostly for the food they eat. So once those groundwater aquifers are pumped dry, then we're going to really, that's when I think when these issues of climate change and you know, climate refugees, that's when we're really going to see the really bad, those are going to be the worst times. Because if you just look at what's happening in Syria, I mean, that really started as a drought. It was a drought that caused farmers to not be able to grow wheat. The price of bread skyrocketed. Bread is the staple of the diet throughout the Middle East. And that just led to a lot of civil unrest. And that really played a huge role in the rise of the Arab Spring. And now we see that whole refugee crisis that's come out of that. A lot of talk goes into extremism and all these things, but really it's a drought and it's a climate related problem and it's a food security problem at its core. And then when we see these groundwater aquifers being depleted in other parts of the world, that's when we're going to see the same type of problems, but on a scale that we've never experienced on this earth. Because those are also a lot of the countries that depend on groundwater and are the most food insecure are also the ones with the most rapidly growing populations and the highest number of poor people on the planet that have no other choice once they lose that ability to farm. So yeah, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, but that's why we have to pay attention to these problems that are definitely being unreported, like groundwater depletion and ocean acidification.
And water is really at the heart of all the environmental challenges we face today. So if you want to really understand these issues, look at them through water. Check out our website. You'll learn so much, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. They'll be engaging. So thank you so much, guys. For the teachers out there, we have some posters up front. These ones here you can grab, and then yeah, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much for having us here.
That's where I could listen to these guys all day long. It is a constant reminder to me about how much more I've got left to learn about the issues around water and the environment in general. So Tyler and Alex, thank you again so very much. We really appreciate your time and your wisdom and being able to respond to these questions so thoughtfully. Thank you. Just make sure where I am. So we're at the time where we're going to be stopping the live cast to our remote classrooms, and then we're ready to watch the prize-winning films and then all the rest of the films. So at this point, I'll say farewell to those classes who are listening and watching. We really are glad that you could be with us, and so that you know, we're also going to be putting this online and available for everybody else to watch later. So, Joanne, did you want to introduce? I get to turn this back over to Joanne. Oh, let me just say, someone has found a BMO debit card.